Gretchen Watkins. I'm the water resource specialist for the Lac du Flambeau tribe. And today, we're talking about invasive species, and the Lac du Flambeau tribe has been very proactive in working with invasive species. Back in the 80s even, one of the first groups kind of leading the charge about invasive species. I'm not going to cover a lot of the details of the current program. We do very similar things, a lot of purple loosestrife management, spotted knapweed's a big one that pretty much anywhere the canopy has been opened, so there's sunlight hitting the ground and it's changing the ecosystem to the point that you're essentially having habitat that has benefited species that are invasive, especially like spotted knapweed. We have essentially worked to basically combat these things. I think the really resonant point with me is with roads and with waterways. They're both corridors for these invasive species. And connecting these corridors at bridges and places where fill is being placed just makes those connections so those corridors propagate the species further into the wildlands and protected areas of reservations, and getting those species back into areas that normally wouldn't have that type of disturbance. We just recently had Columbus Day, and my mom every year gives me a call and says, "Why don't you have off?" And I say, "Mom, I work for a tribe. They don't celebrate Columbus." And at that same time, if you know the story, the true story of Columbus, something that I always think about, though, is Columbus brought horses. And pretty much as you move people throughout a landscape, you bring with those people all of the things, including seeds and other species and diseases that don't normally grow and have predators and have controls in that place to deal with those species. And so horses are one of those things that kind of stand out to me, as we kind of think of the American, especially the American West, as this horse area, right? So even tribes from the West, we think of them as horse tribes. But that is a naturalized species. That is a species that has become part of the landscape, and it wasn't native. And so a lot of our roadsides, our elders don't even remember when Highway 47 was put in, or whatever major state highway that is coming through these areas. And those areas are usually dominated by non-native species, if they're invasive or if they're not. And management of those species is very complicated to determine which ones are native, which ones are not, which ones are invasive, which ones aren't. And so the major thought process is to just clean off everything that comes in contact with road work as it moves anywhere, from state to state, from county to county, from reservation to reservation. And so what the Lac du Flambeau tribe has done, we've talked a little bit about having water quality standards. And so it's been one tool in the toolbox that the tribe has really done a lot of work in and put a lot of effort into having this, and has used this tool to combat the movement of invasive species. And the way that the tribe has done this is through dredge and fill permits, through the 401 or 404 permitting process, to say, for that general permit, it's put right into the permit through the Army Corps of Engineers, that all equipment needs to be clean and free of invasives. and all dredge and fill material needs to be clean and free from invasives. Now, how that actually happens is up to all of us in this room to figure out when each of these projects come up, what areas the different equipment's going to be moving from to, where we're going to get our dredge and fill material from, and what are the processes that we're going to put into place and then require of the contractors to actually implement to fulfill those rules and regulations. A lot of times I hear on the reservation that, oh, the rules and regulations, the paperwork, can't we just not have this stuff happen? Can't we just do it? Like the elders say that, this stuff is good. And the Lactoflambeau tribe has really worked hard to fulfill all of that paperwork need for DOT type organizations to make sure that it trickles all the way down to contractors that are coming on the reservation and so on and so forth. But coming to things like this, it really stands out to me that just talking about it. And so that if there is a person who's setting up a contract, yes, Lactoflambeau has this general permit set up and this paperwork and stuff like that. But maybe, that planner or the person that is sitting there will just say, it is a really good idea to clean off all the equipment, or maybe it is really a good idea to have native seed mixes, and just even having that idea and the strength of an idea is so much more important than the laws that actually bind people to do whatever is right. So I think that is, in general, the two ways, so through education and regulation, hopefully we get this all solved.